It's no secret that there is a housing crisis in New York, and the problem is really twofold. For one, there's not enough housing to meet the demand. But for two, the housing that is available is getting more expensive. You would need to earn $110,000 a year to afford the median asking rent in New York City. That's according to a survey from the city's housing agency. So there is a gap here. And for more on that, I spoke with James Lloyd from the New York State Association for Affordable Housing. James, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So we know that New York has a housing crisis. It's had a housing crisis for quite some time now. How bad is the housing crisis in New York? How would you describe it?
Oh, I mean, it's the worst it's ever been. The median renter income in New York City is $50,000. Meanwhile, you'd have to have around $110,000 to afford the average available apartment, which is rents for $2,800 a month. There's essentially no rental stock available at the lowest levels of income for what people can afford. So no, it's really dire. And the metro area needs 345,000 units of new housing right now. So there's a major shortage.
So is that the problem that exists? Some people, I think, see this as just a cost problem, as in the rent is too high. Is it more that the rent is too high, or do we just not have enough units and homes to house people?
Well, the rent is too high because there are not enough units. I mean, there's a huge supply issue, and that lack of supply is what has driven up rents to these degrees. I mean, it's a classic microeconomics problem.
Is it an affordable housing problem in particular, or is it a housing problem in general? I think it would make more sense if it's an affordable housing problem because people can't afford the rent, but you tell me.
It's both. I mean, yes, we need a lot more affordable housing, absolutely. But that being said, we lack adequate housing across all income levels. And when you don't have adequate housing at all income levels, it hits the poorest first. So New York City has the most homeless per capita in America. And the vast majority of those are economically homeless, and that's due to the lack of overall housing availability.
Now, has the homelessness problem gotten worse as well as the housing problem has gotten worse? I guess they're both the same problem, but I'm wondering, we talk about homelessness in different contexts than I think affordable housing a lot of the time. And I know that you're here obviously representing affordable housing, so it's okay if you can't answer it, but do we see homelessness on the rise too, especially in New York City?
Yes, no, it's at a peak as well, partly due to economics and due to the overall housing crisis. Obviously, we've seen the recent migrant crisis as well from the southwest border. So all those numbers add up, and we're at peak populations in shelters as we speak.
So what do we do about it? I mean, this is a really complicated problem in terms of housing. I mean, it's not easy to say, but if we're just saying build more units, that sounds easy, but I think it's easier said than done. So what do you see as the first steps that a Governor Kathy Hochul could take maybe in the next year to get us on the right track to fixing this crisis?
Absolutely. And look, I think this answer has two parts, right? I mean, for one, you're talking about homeless, and I really, to speak directly to that, what houses homeless is typically supportive housing, project-based Section 8. So obviously we need to continue robust development of those types of housing. But then, of course, to address the overall housing shortage, we need, aggressive action from the governor. And congratulations to her, the state's first woman governor to be elected. And we were very happy to see that she campaigned on housing. So she stated that she aims to see 500,000 to 1 million units of new housing developed in the state over the next decade. But to be clear, we need a lot of state action to get this done. Generally the problem is extremely restrictive development regulations. So zoning, subdivision regulations, and this sort of thing. And there's just not many places to build housing, affordable or market rate. And really what we need is what we call as of right. So as of right is when you can go through the process and build housing and just apply for permits without having to get something like a zoning change. So we really need that option to be able to develop more housing at any sort of scale.
If you don't give that option, is the zoning, is that a New York City specific option? Would that be up to the city to change the zoning, or is there something at the state level that could happen as well to make this easier?
Yes, I mean, every city, town, judge that has zoning, which is the vast majority of them, could choose to liberalize their zoning and to make it easier to build. And you see sort of discussions in the city about doing that. For instance, zoning for housing opportunity is Mayor Adams' initiative to encourage more affordable housing in the city. So, Senator May has proposed a state zoning board of appeals process similar to the Massachusetts 40B statute. It's getting pretty obscure, I know, with this, but that would sort of allow people to propose a project regardless of local zoning if it were partially affordable and have sort of different paths. We're also looking for a statewide affordable housing needs study that can point to each town or in New York City community district and say, this area needs X number of affordable units and X number of market rate units to meet the local housing need.
All right, well, we will see what happens next year in Albany. James Lloyd from the New York State Association for Affordable Housing, thank you so much.
Absolutely.